what you've been waiting for! It's finally here! They have finally come! Now is the time! This digital transmission of the Stoltman Football Network will begin now!
Yo, welcome back to another episode of Stoltman Football Network. We are breaking down our blood and soul team, the Minnesota Vikings, today. Blake, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing really well, Nick. How you doing?
I'm jacked. We got the NFL draft tomorrow, and I think everybody's appetite is just ready to feast for some football content, because nobody's doing anything lately with the quarantine and COVID and all that.
Yeah, dude, I'm really excited too. I'm ready to rock when it comes to the NFL draft tomorrow and what the Vikings are going to be looking to do.
Yeah, so we're gonna do a pre-draft Vikings episode, and then probably in a week or two we're gonna do a post-draft Vikings episode. But we're gonna start with Vikings free agency and the moves that were made in the offseason. Obviously, Stephon Diggs, number one. He's in Buffalo. We got a first-rounder for him. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it needed to be done. I mean, he literally skipped work after they lost. I believe it was the Green Bay loss. I mean, he didn't show up for work, or I can't remember. I think they were 2-2 at the time, so I think it was within the first quarter of the season. I mean, he was becoming a problem, I believe, in the locker room. I think the Vikings handled it well. He obviously wasn't happy with not getting his touches, with Dalvin Cook being the man, and along with Adam Thielen being opposite him, getting most of the looks as well, along with the emergence of even Kyle Rudolph's season, along with Irv Smith. He was kind of becoming the outcast, even though he was a nice deep threat. But I believe we got really good compensation for him. We got like 4 picks. I think we'll be able to find somebody to help out at wideout or as a pass receiver in the draft to fill some of that void. So I was really happy with the move, at least from what we got. If we would have got junk, I would have been pretty unhappy for sure.
Yeah, as far as Diggs goes, he was definitely one of my favorite Vikings since we got him. I liked him. We had him, I think, 4th round. And he was a great player for us. He made every catch contested. He came down with the ball. He's flashy. His routes are beautiful. He had a great career with the Vikings, but it was his time to go. And he was making that very well known. It's kind of like a relationship, man. Like, let's say you had a college girlfriend, right? And you guys were highly attracted to each other. You had a ton of fun. But you guys both got to your next stage in life, and you kind of knew this relationship was over. And one of the people in the relationship was kind of starting to act out, which he was doing last season. He was acting out, like you said, early in the year. He had these fumbles that were going on, and that just says, you know, he had a lack of focus, concentration. Cryptic Twitter cryptic tweets all the time, teasing like he wants to be on New England and stuff. So, yeah, Vikings are at a time where they're in a low-key build, Blake, a low-key restructuring of the team. They're kind of a quiet team that is really turning over their roster. And, we have to rebuild and get these picks, and I think it was the right move. And as far as our roster getting overturned, like, let's look at more of the players here. Trey Waynes, first rounder, better than average cornerback in my opinion. Gone, Cincinnati. Xavier Rhodes, let's just say we knew 2 seasons ago this guy was probably the worst corner in football. He needed to get into some hot yoga sessions or something. I mean, he started to look like a middle linebacker. I don't know what happened to him, how he fell off the cliff that bad. He was dealing with injuries. He's a long, slender guy, and the league is going more towards speed. He's physical, and his game maybe wasn't working well with the new rules. I mean, what do you give me?
Needless to say, on Rhodes, he was practicing the 6-foot social distancing rule all through the season last year. Well, his whole season was encapsulated in that Seattle game when we had a legitimate shot of beating Seattle on the road last year. And he let that young rookie wide receiver just blow by him, and he thought there was help, but nobody was there.
Oh, and then he did a tantrum on the sideline like it was somebody else's fault. The whole game, the announcer, Booger McFarland, I remember this. I mean, he was on point with it. He was just, Xavier Rhodes is giving up the most percentage of catches this year, the most yards. He just fell off. Maybe he lost his HGH hookup. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he definitely he needs to shed some weight and get quicker. And I think his time with Minnesota had just run its course. And some of the young cornerbacks that Zimmer's been kind of mentoring are on their way up to make an impact this year, hopefully, along with some new additions going forward as the offseason progresses. I'm sure we're going to see some definite improvement over what Xavier Rhodes is bringing to the squad.
Yeah, not only that, he wasn't cheap.
Right.
He opened up a lot of cap space for us, so there was no question he had to go. I mean, I'm not losing any sleep at night knowing Xavier Rhodes is not on Viking anymore.
In regards to Trey Waynes, I'm happy for him. I never really truly was a big fan of Trey Waynes, but he did turn out to be a nice tackling corner and a good cover corner. At times he would get beat underneath quite a bit, and he would give up big yards, on intermediate routes. But overall, it would have been nice to see him stay. But I think in the end, we'll be okay, with this group.
I always felt good when I saw him on the field. I didn't ever feel like it's a big hole there. He's going to make plays. He's going to do a pretty consistent job. So he was good for us. I would have liked to keep him, actually, because he was still young and he's fast and he could come up and tackle. That's one guy I kind of wanted us to keep. But then we got to go to another cornerback, Mackenzie Alexander. We drafted him a few years ago, second round out of Clemson. Struggled early in his career. Last couple seasons, he improved quite a bit. And that's another guy that was young and trending upwards in a position of need for us that we didn't hang on to. Did it surprise you to see him go to Cincinnati?
It did. For sure it did. I think Zimmer was unhappy that he lost his main nickel corner. But I think he was going to get paid much more in Cincinnati, and that's been kind of the theme for the Vikings. We're cash strapped at this point. We have a lot of big contracts out there, and we needed to get younger and cheaper in quite a few spots, and especially with franchising Anthony Harris at safety.
Yeah.
It really put us in a spot where we were gonna lose Mackenzie Alexander, we were gonna lose guys like Trey Waynes and whatnot. So I'm super unhappy because with Mike Hughes' progression last year, I didn't see much improvement from him. So I'm really nervous on the back end, but at least we have our two veteran safeties that have been playing at least one's been playing an all-pro level for like mainly most of his career. And then Anthony Harris has really come on strong.
We don't really know what Holton Hill is. He's been suspended. It's kind of a wild card. That's why he dropped in the draft. He is very talented. He was a top prospect in high school. And then another guy, Boyd, who played opposite him at Texas. I don't know too much about him yet either. I mean, I think he's got some potential too, but very young. And it seems like these D-backs, they need a couple of years with Zimmer to really get used to him. Do you think Zimmer wears some of his guys out? Do you think some of these guys are like, man, I can't wait to play for another coach?
I wouldn't doubt it. But I mean, that's knowledge that we wouldn't, outside of what the media talks about, that's pretty much the extent of what I wouldn't even know. But for sure, I could see his rhetoric getting old with the guys, and he probably rides them hard, especially Xavier. I'm sure you can imagine the team meetings watching Xavier just get toasted every fucking week. So, yeah, he probably does. But this is his bread and butter. Cornerbacks are his thing. It's time for him to utilize and make these young cornerbacks that are drafted later in the draft and make them into stars. And he's pretty much gotten what he wanted up to this point in his coaching career, and it's getting a first-round corner, it seems like, every other year, you know? So it's time for him to buck up, and we need to invest a little more in the offensive side this year.
Well, let's give Mike Hughes one chance this season. He's 2 years out of his knee injury. Let's really we're going to need him to step up, and we're going to be able to tell if he's going to be good or not, because last year he looked small. I remember Mike Williams, granted he's a big guy from San Diego, just catching balls over the top of him like it was backyard football, not even fair. So we obviously have problems with cornerbacks. Safeties are looking okay. Let's go to Everson Griffin, 33 years old, Viking his whole life. Obviously had some mental problems a couple years ago, but he's been one of the best Vikings ever. What's his status right now? Is he still a free agent?
Yeah, he's still a free agent. Apparently, Rick Spielman has been in contact
Analyze
with
him on this season.
There might be a good chance that he might be coming
back. He's going to have to be on the field a lot. He's got another year to him, kind of like Dwight Freeney in the latter stages of his career, where he can produce, but he's kind of a waste of space on a team that's not really ready to win a Super Bowl, you know?
Right.
So I'm mixed on him. If he comes back, cool. I got no problem with him. We'll get him cheap. He's productive. I like him. If he goes somewhere else, I wish him the best. He was great. He's a good guy. We let go of that right guard, Klein. So I was confusing to a lot of fans. Was he just too expensive, injury problems, or do you think the Vikings know they're going to be drafting guys?
Well, from a production standpoint, I thought he was okay. He was much better than our left guard. I think the price was too much for the Vikings going forward to keep him. At times he was a revolving door, but at other times I didn't see him very often, which was a good thing. So right now we virtually don't have two starting guards right now, which is alarming.
Maybe we should get Tom Compton back. He was a hell of a player.
Yeah, you could have put a mannequin out there, that like a 300-pound mannequin, and it would have done a better job.
Spielman could have scouted the left guard from the Little Giants movie, and he would have done just as good.
Oh, God. him getting trucked by every D tackle in the league was like some of the worst crap of it you can ever watch in your life.
Oh, God, that guy was bad. And he tried to fill his ego with tattoos on his arm and look tough, but, I mean, the guy's from South Dakota. Like, get over yourself, man. What a joke. We're going to address offensive line here in a little bit. He had one more year in his contract. He didn't prove it to me yet. He didn't prove it to me. They won one game in New Orleans, but shit, he went to San Francisco and shit the bed. Granted, our offensive line was nothing. I don't know why we already extended him. I think this was perfect. We had him on a 3-year deal, getting paid $84 million. This could have been his test year, and if he sucked, we could get in the market. So, I don't know, man. What do you think about that?
I like it. This is where we're going to disagree. I thought Kirk had a good year last year. I thought he had a very good year. I think if we can upgrade,
let's go.
At
we
our
re-signed Cousins
and give him another weapon offensively.
I'm not glad we did.
With Delvin and him and getting stronger up front, I think Kirk can win at a high level. I thought he was throwing great deep balls last year. I really was impressed with him. Now we can argue the extra years, but it did give some cap relief, and until we have a capable young quarterback that is coming through the system that we feel is going to take over eventually, I want that position secure at least for 3 years. Now, if the Vikings invest in a quarterback, which they should, I believe, at some point in the draft.
Well, it's not going to be this year.
No, for sure not going to be this year.
Maybe a Jalen Hurts 3rd round if he's there. I mean, I could see that. I wouldn't be mad with that.
I'd be okay with that. I for sure would. But, like I said, I mean, Kirk is pretty much the best quarterback we've had here since the Silver Fox Brett Favre walked into the stable. I like the stability at the position now more than ever. I just think we need the weakest part of our team is the offensive line, which we'll talk about. But yeah,
and it's hard to judge him when he's getting bombarded by Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks and God, that Packer game against Ladarius, that was terrible. That was just rough. So let's go to Michael Pierce. Is a D tackle we picked up from Baltimore. He's a big space eater. He's a shorter guy. I think he's like 6 foot, but like 320 pounds. They call him the Juggernaut. If you look him up, Google him, he's got a great look. He's a bowling ball. He's taken the place of Linval Joseph, and Linval's another guy that was a core member of this defense that we knew for the past 5-6 years of the solid defense. Another one that's gone. So this defense is completely different. The Linval Joseph, I don't mind getting rid of him. He was great for us. He was losing a step. So I think Pierce is going to come in there and do as good or better. I do like that signing. We don't have to address it in the draft, you know. Let's we now we don't have to go D tackle in the draft at least.
Well, at least first round we don't, for sure. And I think that's one of the strengths of the Vikings football team is developing young tackles, DNs, etc., guys who play on the D line. So I'm really happy with the signing. From watching, tape back, he's going to eat up space for arguably the strength of our team, which is our linebackers. Yeah,
and then C.J. Ham, fullback, who we signed. Not much there.
No,
but those are the big transactions. So
we picked up Tajay Sharp.
Oh yeah, Tajay. He was in Tennessee. He's a good football player. He's not an athletic freak. I guess he didn't really have the best passing offense. We'll see what happens with him. I don't mind that signing. I think he could be good.
Doesn't address the one core need that we need to address from a wide receiver standpoint is a deep threat.
Yeah, I think he's gonna. Remember that Charles Johnson guy we had for like a year or two? That's probably what he's gonna be like. Yeah. Like he's not gonna get over the top. He'll make he's a slower Bernard Berrien type of guy.
Oh God, Bernard Berrien, that guy. Like, his legs were like little twigs. It's unbelievable. I'm guessing he could not stretch. Like, I bet you, like, his muscles would tear if he would try to touch his toes.
Him, Marvin Johnson, and Ted Ginn are all in the Guinness Book of World Records for smallest legs, circumference-wise.
It's gotta be that, dude.
They're like little prancers.
It looks like a bunch of, like, like baseball bats. Like, the ankles are like, oh.
Right. Right, yeah. Tajay Sharp, we'll see. He'll probably catch about 600 yards, 3 touchdowns, and that's what he's going to do. He's a good 2 or 3, but maybe in the draft we'll address and try to go for number 1. So let's go right into what we need in the draft. And at the end of this Vikings podcast, we're going to do our mock draft of the players we think we're going to go get. So obviously, we got to get depth at cornerback. That has to get done in the first round, in my opinion. And then we either have to go with offensive line, tackle, and corner, or we got to go receiver, corner. I'd like to get 1 offense, 1 defense. Like I said, either receiver or offensive line for offensive pick at 22 or 25, and the corner as our second pick, and or the first pick in the first round for us at 22. The second round, there's depth at receiver here. That's why I wouldn't mind if we went for a receiver in the second round. There's still guys there that I think we could get. My hope would be to go offensive tackle and then probably cornerback at 25 and then receiver in the third round, unless we get some guy to drop that's just too good to be true. And there's one guy I really, really like that I just know this guy's going to be a good player. I don't know why he's ranked a little bit further back from some of these guys. Maybe it's production. But Denzel Mims, I really, really like this guy. He's 6'3" ¾ Baylor, built really good all the way around. He ran a 4.39. He jumped, I think, 40 inches. Super athletic. I guarantee somebody's going to take him in the first round. Some people saying he might go mid-second. Denzel Mims, you watch. He's going to get taken earlier than people expect, and I would not be mad if we took him.
I'm with you with a wide receiver for sure. But it sounds like all these offensive tackles are going to go early. Sounds like there's going to be a run on offensive tackles within like the first 15 picks, and that the Vikings are going to want to get one. They're going to have to move up, which I don't see that. I truly don't see that happening, because I really think that they're going to get value at corner, possibly wide receiver, possibly a guard or something like that they may like at that spot at 22 and 25. But I'm with you, though. I don't think they need to address any defensive line or linebackers or anything of that sort. They need to address the corners, corner, wide receiver, or offensive line with those 2 picks.
So we'll get to that segment last with the picks we like, and we'll zero in on a few players. So let's go to betting the Vikings next season. What is your mindset going in?
I think from what Vegas has already put out, I think the over-under on wins for the Vikings right now is 9. So I have this feeling that the Vikings are going to be favorites early, or they're going to be bigger favorites than we think they're going to be early on in the season. The optimism around the team, especially from a Vegas standpoint, seems to be super high. Now, if that is the case, I'm definitely riding the wave against the Vikings. I don't think if they do turn out wins early, I think they're going to be close games. I think if they're favorites by 3.5 or more, I think they're a good spot to bet against them. They're going to have trouble on the defensive side for sure with stopping people early. I think they'll improve throughout the year, so I think you'll see overs and unders. I think you'll see more overs. So the Vikings are going to have to just score more points to win games. And I think as the season goes along, I think you'll start seeing more unders with the team because they're going to start improving as Zimmer's defenses improve throughout the season. So I think there will be a switch where the lines are corrected and overs and unders. You'll be able to cash in on some unders and you'll be able to bet with the Vikings. So against early, with later. It's kind of my mentality with it.
Jeez, I am almost 100% against you on all that. Because I don't know why you think the public or Vegas is going to be high on them. The public knows big name players. So they're thinking, oh, they lost Stephon Diggs. If they do any sort of research, they're going to see our defense has been decimated. I think the public is going to be off the Vikings train big time early.
I think you may be right with that, but
they're not a sexy team either. Nobody really like the Vikings generally sneak out a lot of covers because they're just not a sexy team. People don't love betting them, but you know we do pretty well on them. It's going to be tough with over-unders because it's just going to be how the game shakes out, and that sounds really vague, but the Vikings are going to try to play ground and pound with Dalvin Cook. Because their defense early could get exposed with these young guys. So, man, it's tough with the over-unders here because how are they going to do passing-wise if they don't get a receiver that steps in right away to fill Diggs' role? And let's say they get down. Say they get down to 10 points. I mean, what's their offense going to turn into when they're down 10 points?
Right. Well, we can agree to disagree. I think, like I said, there's some sort of optimism. It's when it comes down to the sharps in Vegas, I think that's what's happening. I don't think the wheels are gonna fall off as bad as what you're anticipating. But I do think that the Vikings might get more favorable lines early, especially at home, where they're very tough at home. And let's just see what happens with the draft, because that's what's going to dictate what's going to happen early in the year too, as well. On what kind of where we're going to turn weaknesses possibly into strengths.
Like I said, low key, they are a complete rebuilding team right now.
Certain spots for sure they are.
You don't talk about the Vikings about rebuilding. I mean, they got 25th pick in the draft, 22nd pick. They've been good the past few seasons. A lot of the guys that left besides Diggs are kind of quiet. But if you know the Vikings, you know that the team we knew that was the defense was carrying us with Bridgewater and these guys a few years ago, it's just a different team. I mean, they don't really Kendricks and Barr, and let's hope those guys stay healthy. And the best player we have on our team is probably Daniil Hunter. So, I mean, that guy's still 24. He's the best player on our team.
Yeah, I'm not super optimistic about the season in general, but I do think we'll surprise some people from a
I think it's going to be a step back season. I'm going to say 7-9. I'm going to say we're in 7 games.
That's fair.
I think we're going to split pretty much with everybody in the division. We'll probably get one from the Bears. They'll probably get one from us. I think Detroit will probably get us on one. And the Packers split at best, and we'd love to beat them twice, but they could beat us twice like last season too. So, I mean, in our division, we might only get 2 to 3 wins, in my opinion. NFC's stacking up. Look at Tampa Bay, baby.
Yep.
So, I'm going to say 7-9. What's your guess?
8-8. 8-8.
Okay.
7-9 is a good guess, but I think falling off 2 games from last year is probably realistic. But it's a weird year, man. It could go. It feels like it goes 6-10, but it also possibly could get to 9-7 and give us a chance to get in the playoffs. So it just all depends on which young talent we bring into the stable, and if Zimmer can actually fine tune his poker playing skills, or in this case his Monopoly playing skills, and just figure shit out and just make better decisions, in-game decisions. And if he can do it to his advantage throughout the year, and get us to capture a couple extra games somehow, some way, by him actually outsmarting the other coach, man, it would be really nice. And this is the year he needs to do it, man. This is the year he needs to do it.
Well, I think Vikings fans need to have the expectations this season. It might be a little bit of a down year. If you're looking at stock market chart and you see teams rising and falling, don't be shocked if the Vikings have a down year. And don't be mad about it either, because we have to recycle players, and this happens with every team. And we have a lot of picks in this draft, and I don't really want to do too much trading up. I want to try to get as many young players in as possible. I don't mind if we trade 7-rounders and 6-rounders to get up to 4th and 5th, try to get, players that can actually make the team. But I would really like to, we're not 1 or 2 players away. I think we got to collect talent, and we got to do it the next couple of years. So I just want this season, of course, I'd love to win the Super Bowl, but I just want a winning culture to be built, and the guys to be bought in, and we play really competitive football, and we see some of our guys that we drafted this year, we see potential from them, not Laquan Treadwell. We see these young guys make some plays and get us a little fired up for, some of the end of the season games and kind of trend into the following season.
I'm going to miss Laquan. Stone hands, man. Stone hands.
Jesus.
God. All right.
Okay, so let's go into the last segment here of who do you think the Vikings are going to take? At 22, our pick from Buffalo for Diggs. I think if one of these receivers, because there's going to be a receiver run early, I think our first pick is going to be either Justin Jefferson from LSU, or there's one tackle, maybe 2 tackles that we might have a shake at, and that's going to be Josh Johnson out of Houston. Seems to be a good athlete. He might need a little bit of work and technique, but he's got all the size-wise and all that stuff.
I'm with you. I'm with you for sure. First one came to my head, though, was Jalen Johnson. But it could be either the 22nd or the 25th with Jalen, depending on how the board's laying out. Of course, any offensive tackle, I'm down if he's high quality. Now, if we need to go, like you mentioned, a stud wide receivers there, like Justin Jefferson, that would be stellar too. So I'm on board with all those ideas.
And another one, I forgot, Austin Jackson from USC, left tackle. I think if a good tackle's there, we are going to take the tackle. There's just less of them. So Austin Jackson and Justin Jefferson, if those guys are already gone, I think we look away from tackle, because after those guys, I think the drop-off happens, and the grade of talent is second-rounders with guys like Ezra Cleveland out of Boise State and this big Isaiah guy out of the right tackle for Georgia. He's really, really big. I could see us taking him, but he seems like a little bit of a project, but he'd be like a Phil Loadhold type of guy, not as big, but he's a big, rangy guy. A lot of grades on him are second round. If one of those tackles, Jackson or Johnson, is there, we take him. If Justin Jefferson be dropped, I really think he get all those receivers to get eaten up early. Possibly Philly takes Jefferson right in front of us. So it's going to be receiver, O-line at 22, and then I'm totally down if we can get Jalen Johnson at 25, because he ran a 4.5, and he's better at the bump coverage, being in your face, a Zimmer type of guy. We're not going to go Trayvon Diggs at corner. There's no way we're bringing another Diggs in. Mm-hmm. I think a long shot would be T. Higgins. He didn't compete at the combine. He runs about a 4.5, 4.6, but man, I just watching the games, he's so good in the games. I mean, his tape is great. And one other guy, a couple other guys, Jeff Gladney, he's He's a little bit smaller from TCU corner, but he's another Zimmer type of guy. He's really feisty. He's like a little pit bull. As far as corners go, that's where I would think. I mean, there's a shot we go Antoine Winfield's Minnesota guy. He's got injury issues. My dad likes Antoine Winfield a lot. He watched him at the Gophers and just was making plays all over the field. It's a possibility. It's probably a little too early for him. And like I said, Denzel Mims, dude, I wouldn't be mad about that. I think a lot of Vikings fans will be shocked because they don't know much about him, and there's other bigger names. But, dude, just watch some of this guy's tape. I mean, he just looks big, slender, smooth, fast. He catches the ball well. I don't know. I think if he's on a team like Clemson or Ohio State or one of LSU last year, shit, I think he'd be a lot higher. So
yeah, no, I like where your head's at, man. I like where your head's at. I'm excited. It's gonna be a great time.
Yep. And then there's one last guy, Brandon Ayuk. I don't know much about him. 40-inch vertical, Arizona State. He ran about a 4.5, so he's a really good athlete. He's a little more shorter, compact, speed guy. Apparently, the scouts really like him. If we took him, I don't think I'd be mad. But that's another guy I think could go. So those are what we're thinking for our Vikings. Any last ideas, comments about anything about the Vikings before we call it an episode?
Don't sleep. No, I have no idea, man. It's going to be a crazy year. It's just such a, like you put it so well throughout the podcast, is that it's so unknown, and it just could be just a super weird year, and don't be surprised if we do really shitty. And
it's like we're
kind of the attitude I'm kind of taking with it now as I listen to you talk more about it.
We're a team where the window's halfway open. Our window was a lot more open a few years ago, and it ain't quite shut. Our window's halfway open, and we're kind of a team that's going to be a nice breeze coming in. Okay, nice breeze coming through the window.
Yep, might be surprised, might feel good at times.
Developmental team. I just want to see guys like Delvin Cook stay healthy, Mike Hughes stay healthy, and then Irv Smith. Let's see him just blossom. I mean, that's the guy.
I think he will too.
Like, he's a joker. Thielen, he needs to stay healthy and not fall down every time the ball comes to him when he catches it, although he does catch well when he falls down. If you look at his rate of catches, he's probably on the ground more than half the time. We need him to stay healthy too. But, I mean, how good is he going to do without Diggs on the other side? I mean, they're going to be able to center on him unless we get one of these guys to step up. I mean, Obiese's he's not number one.
No.
He's okay. He's kind of like him and Tajay Sharp switch jerseys, switch names. I don't even know if we'd know it's a different guy. So
right.
All right, we're going to wrap this episode up on the Vikings, and like I said, we're going to do a post-draft episode too. Comment on our video if there's some topics you want us to talk about, and really looking forward to tomorrow, baby. We're going to be in touch, texting, calling each other in this draft. Okay.
Yep. Have a great evening, everybody.
Later.